Welcome, honor students working on the early government time period, a very interesting time period in our history. There's two things that you have to do. You have to tell the story or the content, and then you also have to apply these historical thinking skills to it. So you're taking the story and then you're kind of attaching these somehow to it or labeling these and showing how they apply to that specific story in history. We could take these historical thinking skills, we have just a couple of them here, and we could apply these to any event in history. That's what's important, that you pick up on these and are able to not just use them in a simple way, but be a little more complex with them. So if we look at the first one, cause and effect, or cause and consequence, we'll notice there's three guideposts, we call them, and they're not the guideposts aren't rules, they're just things that we really need to look at. The first one, I think the big thing here is in elementary school, you've talked about cause and effect, and now we want to get a little more sophisticated and realize that while sometimes it could be like kind of the domino effect where one thing causes this, a lot of times there's really multiple causes that bring about something, and then often multiple effects or multiple consequences, not just one. So that's the first thing, is looking at that idea of multiple causes. Some of you have already started looking at the Articles of Confederation, and you've shown that there were several things, many different problems with the Articles of Confederation. Taking a look at this guidepost here, this one says that the causes may vary in their influence. So one might be more major. I could have made one of these arrows even smaller so that it wasn't quite as, big of a deal. So they vary in their influence or importance as to what caused something. There may be one big cause, and we see that again with the Articles of Confederation. What's the main reason why they failed? There may be a big, huge, maybe a spark too, that is something that kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Again, we see that in the Articles of Confederation. This one says that it's important to keep in mind the interplay between the historical actors. We call the people in history historical actors, who take action, the social and the social, political, economic, and cultural conditions of the time period. So basically, what is the interplay between these people, and what's the situation that this is all taking place in? Economic situation, political situation, what's going on at the time. You might not have to address all of these, but probably you should usually be addressing at least two of these, and I missed cultural on there. All right, and then historical perspectives. So this is differing perspectives. Different historical actors have diverse perspectives, and understanding these is really important. Depends on how we see things. What are the different perspectives on an event you're studying? Often there are multiple perspectives, not just two, but sometimes people see things in a very different way. There may be just two positions, but the reasons people have may be different. We see that with the articles, or excuse me, the Constitution, when they go to the states to get it ratified, and people, the Federalists, have one position, they want to ratify it or pass it, and the Anti-Federalists have another. But even within those groups, there's different reasons as to why they have the position that they do. And again, this is very similar to right up here. We want to make sure when we're looking at those perspectives, what's their context, like what are they looking at, what are they living with, what kind of situation are they in, that they have the perspective that they have. Change and continuity is kind of doing a lot of comparing across time periods. What has stayed the same? What is different? How can we see patterns? What keeps coming up? Oftentimes you might be comparing two events across time. When you do that, obviously looking at how are they similar, but how are they different? Okay, so change and continuity. When you do that, you need to use broad themes. And historical significance. Events in history, we could study everything in history, but there's a lot of stuff that's just not that important. And so when you're piecing together, a story on the Articles of Confederation or the compromises of the Constitution or the ratification process or whatever it may be, Washington's presidency, we want to look at, why was this important? And that means that, that often something should have resulted in change. So if something's really significant, there's some change that occurred. It had deep consequences for many people over a long period of time. And this is just a little chart that I found. So kind of looking at some of these words, was it remarkable, remembered? Did it result in change? Was it groundbreaking? How deeply did it affect people's lives? So those are things for you to keep in mind as you're piecing together your story. We don't need all the little tidbits. We don't really need to know about George Washington's teeth. Interesting, but not when we're piecing together the story of his presidency. So keep those things in mind. Why was it important? What consequences did it have for people? And when you're applying these, you're probably just going to, give a little explanation, maybe label some things. This shouldn't take you that long. We just want to see that you kind of attach these skills to it. All right, good luck.